Today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order, but tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will pledge with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. This is what Henry Kissinger said to address the Bilderberg meeting in 1992. And he was no doubt referencing the idea of UN troops going into Los Angeles because of the riots. And this plays on a very old concept, which government leakers have been saying for 50 years, that this was their one fail-safe, an outside threat to unite the world under a one-world government. When all else was lost, this was the one thing that they have always planned to go to. Now, if you see here, this is a document that was leaked before the election, which is allegedly a salvage plan for Hillary Clinton because they had done tests and knew she was going to lose the election. Now, this has been, quote, debunked by people, and one of the things that they talk to and say that this is an old logo for the Benenson Strategy Group, which I would argue, wouldn't you want to put an old logo on something this sensitive so you could have plausible deniability? But nevertheless, it is quite interesting now that we are 3 years deep. Let's take a look at it. So this is all the information saying that we ran this, we ran all these different things, and it's showing that under all these different circumstances that Trump is most likely going to win the election. So if you keep going down through here, it gives salvage options, okay? Saying this is what we can do to stop that. First one is a possible Red Dawn scenario. They're saying, have a scenario where the UN forces come in and that they have to shut everything down and whatnot. Now, if you remember, this was kind of being tossed around in their comms not too long ago. The second one was Cobalt Rain, which would be a radioactive attack, they spray us down. Well, we already know they spray us down with chemtrails all the time, but obviously this one would be a little much. Now, the third one is a riot. And what did they do? Civil unrest. And they did that. They actually did do this right after the election. If you remember, that whole year, women's protests against Trump. We had this protest against Trump and this protest. I mean, there was a protest with thousands of people in the streets almost freaking every week after he got elected. All right. The next one, the fourth one here, is the Zika apocalypse, saying an improved strain of Zika to be released in the public. Well, what do we have right now? A lethal pathogen that was just released to the public. So in a way, we're kind of living a version of this right now, although it's not Zika, but it's clearly been weaponized. Now, the next one is Sharia Escalation. Now, Trump flat-tired that right off the bat by stopping the refugees, because obviously what do you do with the refugees? They put sleepers in there who are masked, and they could come in and cause havoc. Well, it's hard to do that when your operation gets shut down. And what's the last one? Unnatural disaster. Well, we have had... If you come to this video right here, you will see that they have been doing that right from the beginning. One natural disaster after another. So in a way, most of these have been tried, all right? So they could say they debunked this or that this was fake. It might be fake. But clearly someone in the New World Order really liked this list, okay? And what was the recommended one? Operation Fire Sign, which, like I said, has been their failsafe forever, to use Project Bluebeam to project either, religious figures in the air, and people say, oh my God, I saw Jesus, and, it would tell you we have to unite or something like that, obviously. But what's the main thing it was always going to be used for was a fake alien invasion, okay? Massive floating cities descending, God-sized walkers, just this whole unstoppable thing where the people of the world would unite and go, oh my God, we have to stop this. We have to put our differences aside. We're being invaded by extraterrestrials. We have to do this. And what have you been seeing on the news this whole last couple of years? Oh, actually UFO sightings on the news. I have been following UFOs and aliens and extraterrestrials and all this stuff since the 90s. It's one of the things I've always been very, very intrigued about. And let me tell you something, they don't show that stuff on the news. Never. In fact, they laugh at and mock on the news. All of a sudden now, for the last 2 years, they've been showing the news. They've been planting their seeds in case they have to use this. But it seems that they instead have used a combination of this And this, the Zika apocalypse. They have released a strain, and now this is an outside threat that is so massive we have to unite the world against. If you come here, you have the whole rundown of what I've been saying in my last several videos as to why this was released. Besides one world government, this completely benefits the Democrats. Now, if you look here, you go to method status right here, he's showing, like I was just saying in my previous video, January 15th is patient 0. And January 15th is when they waited to deliver the articles of impeachment. Why? Why did they wait a month? Why did they wait for patient 0? I mean, talk about being obvious. Holy crap. So what was the release marker? Saying time to negate the Senate witness process. That's why it was fast-tracked in the House, because they needed to get passed so they can wait and put it in the Senate as a distraction. If they didn't fast-track it, it probably would have gotten stopped in the House, and they would have had another distraction while they spread their bioterror attack. And this is nothing new. If you go to my last video here, Dark Winter, you'll see that people like Bloomberg have been using these sort of events to prepare for things for a long time. What if it was meant to fail? Of course it was meant to fail. How could you impeach him over a phone call when he didn't even do the thing you're impeaching him over? What if it was meant to distract from overseas developments? Exactly, getting this all lined up and ready to go. Because this seems to have been their real fail-safe if the Mueller investigation failed, and it did fail. So they immediately started with their fake whistleblower and then started putting this into the works. What did all U.S. media focus on during the impeachment process? It was 100% Adam Schiff and Nadler and all these different people badgering Trump, badgering Trump, badgering Trump, badgering Trump. And then what happened on the very day Trump was supposed to have his team give his defense, which was brilliant and which really would have woken up a lot of Americans if they got to see that with the same coverage. Kobe Bryant died under many, many interesting circumstances. And if you come to this video, who controls the narrative, you will see that there is something very shady about that. And they either took him out or he's not dead. And I've always liked Kobe Bryant, so I kind of hope it's the latter. But look what has happened. How do you terminate POTUS's rallies? His biggest selling point, this disease. How do you terminate his economy gains? This. How do you terminate his unemployment gains? This. How do you terminate the China deal that he just started that was going to help the farmers and it was the start of something really good? This. How do you take Biden out of the debates where he was getting his ass handed to him? This. How do you take him out of public appearances where he says one stupid thing after the next? This. How do you take him off of live interviews? This. How do you take Hunter Biden out of the news with his shady Ukraine and China dealings? This. And no one even mentions that Joe's brother got shady billion-dollar contracts for his crappy construction company that was supposed to build houses in Iraq also that they never even built. How do you change the narrative? This is completely changing it. Dude, Trump was steamrolling towards 2020. You thought freaking 2016 was bad? He was about to crush anyone and anything in his path for 2020. But here you go. Who benefits the most? Who? The World Health Organization. Because they are just part of, by World Health Organization, they're part of the New World Order, this whole big world government that controls everything. They want to control it all on paper, which then they could really control everything. Right now, they're kind of behind the scenes and they're kind of reliant on us giving our fake politicians permission to do certain things. I mean, once they're really in power, then they could do anything and there will be no hope for the future. Ever. There'll be no checks and balances. You know, maybe it'll be good for 10, 20, 30 years. These guys play the long game. And then it'll just be a total crap show. I'm sure it won't be good for anything close to 30 years. But they'll do what they have done in this country, slowly erode our freedoms. You think this country isn't even a fraction as free as it was in the 50s. But here you go. How do you alter POTUS-Biden debate structure? Well, now I'm sure the debates aren't going to be live and in person. They're probably going to be via satellite, and that just changes the whole game. I don't even want to go into my theories. I don't want to give anyone ideas on how that could be changed. But, yeah, that sucks. That is no comparison to Trump on stage embarrassing this mental midget. And Biden is crazy triggerable. Are you kidding me? He's basically, this is how the debates are going to go. He's going to say a whole bunch of lies. Trump's going to call him on it. Trump's going to say one thing that pisses him off, and it's going to be, oh, I'll punch you in the face or something. You know, he's going to make himself look like a loose cannon moron. But that'll be a little harder to do. It'll probably still be great. Sure, I'll watch this in any inception you can do it. But Anyway, that alters the way this debate structure is most likely going to be called. How do you hold hostage public aid in exchange for national ballot harvesting law adopt? This is all the stuff they tried to put in that bill. Oh my God, they tried to put all this stuff in that bill. A lot of it wound up getting passed because they put POTUS in a box. Every second he didn't pass that bill, they were using the media. The media is their biggest weapon. The media is a weapon. It's all it is. They were using it. Every second that bill wasn't passed, they were badgering, why aren't you passing it? Why aren't you holding it up? Trump, 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 Trump. So if you wait long to try and fight all this crap that they put in the bill, then they destroy you that way. Or you could pass it, trying to get some of it out of the bill and pass it where you at least get the money out to the people, and then you stop them from badgering you. So they put him in a box with that, and it was a pretty smart move on their part. How do you appease radical left knowing Sanders' dropout is coming? I don't know. I don't know how you appease them. I don't know why they're so against the Q drops. Bernie Sanders always says, oh, we're going to shake down the system. We're going to do. Meanwhile, he's half working for the system. Second of all, there's no, where are his Q drops? Where are all his back channels? There's nothing. But here you go, someone who actually did lift the veil for everybody and now is actively battling these people. If you're a real Bernie Sanders fan who's trying to take down the system, jump on board. Don't be afraid of us. But yeah, here you go. How do you hold public aid in exchange for the Green New Deal? The truth will shock the world. Regain power by any means necessary. Okay? This is why they released this. And it says that the world will soon understand. Lord, I hope so. You come here. What is the primary benefit to keeping the public in mass hysteria re-COVID-19? Everything we just went over. And think voting. Now they want mail-in votes. That's the easiest way to corrupt anything. That's the easiest way to produce voter fraud. And if you come here, this gentleman is saying that he received a 7-page document that's saying to fill out death certificates with a diagnosis of COVID-19, the common cold, whether the person actually died from it or not. So they're inflating all their numbers. Why would you want to inflate these numbers? They're trying to panic the public. This is a weapon. They released this on purpose, and now they're using it for all these reasons here, right? Friggin' here. And ultimately, they would love for this reason right here, which is ironic because these people have done nothing but cause division over and over and over. And here we go. John Durham, the last trusted prosecutor in Washington. The Durham report was supposed to be coming out now. It sure seemed anyway. They were saying spring, summer-ish. Well, we're into spring now and summer, and what are we dealing with? Everyone is distracted by, the death numbers. Oh, my God. New York is being overrun. Meanwhile, if you come here, you see they're using stock photos from Italy. In the beginning of this video, I showed that they're using test dummies. Also, when talking about New York. And this is a travesty. I hope everyone involved in this goes to jail for a really, really long time. And look right here. Why did the World Health Organization make several strong recommendations not to impose a travel ban? Because they needed this to spread first, so then they could do this whole charade. Why did people ban hydroxychloroquine? Because it cures it. And do not go take it unless you get the correct dosage from a doctor. Just blindly taking this can lead to it does make your heart really race and stuff like that. So it has to be used correctly. But unfortunately, we don't have people going through how to use it correctly on a national scale because they do not want this to be cured. I'm telling you. And again, we went over why impeachment was pushed through so fast, so it couldn't get flat-tired until the point it was being used in the Senate as a distraction while they spread this whole garbage. And of course, it popped off right when Biden became the frontrunner because Biden can't hold this down himself. Who benefits the most? The People's Republic of China. And if you want to know about the WHO, the World Health Organization, you come to this video right here. And if you want to know about China, you will come to this video right here. We'll link them all at the end. You can throw as many of these as you want at us. All these natural disasters, you think we weren't going to notice? There's a million natural disasters, all one right after the other. Give me a break. Or a million staged protests out of nowhere, all right? Release pathogens and turn into a pandemic, which are pretty much being exasperated as if it was a Project Fire sign or an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that'll unite the whole world under a one world government. But it ain't going to work. because we're knee deep in the real plan, which was to wake all of us up and then allow us to wake up all our brothers and sisters to take on tyranny. And you pulled the wool over our eyes for a long time, and it was going just grand, and you were slowly moving everything further and further to the left. But now we all know what's up, and we are seeing right through your scams, and you guys blow up your spot so much. You go so overboard because you've never had to deal with this before. You've had 100 years where no one even knew what you were doing. No one's paying attention. Well, guess what? Now we are paying attention, and where we go one, we go all.